o'clock in the morning, you on my phone trying to talk to me and saying that you want me back, you need me back, and you should have never left me. There you go, talking that shit.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to I've Got Your Number. So I was challenged to tell this story. Didn't see myself doing it because usually whenever I talk about this, I still get so ridiculously pissed off that I can't keep my cool. So I'm going to do my best to tell this story without losing my shit. I don't know if this is going to be a two-parter or not because it's a good story. Get your popcorn. Stay tuned in here. This is my story of surviving narcissistic abuse and actually coming out somewhat victorious, except for that horrible raging anger that I had afterwards. So let's get into this. So up to this moment, I had spent a number of years waiting for this man who I loved dearly and still do to come around, and it just wasn't happening. And it was a new year. My mother had been passed for a year. It was 2014, and I'm like, okay, it's just time to start programming to get somebody. And prayers answered. In walks Karma right into my office at my job because I worked at a gym and I met people all day long. So in walks this guy, cocky, seemingly sure of himself, wearing a hat, which was actually a bonus for him. We're talking. He said that he had just gotten here. I saw that he had been a previous member, but I see that he wanted to rejoin the gym, basically. And he said he had just moved to Reno from Seattle, and he had just gotten a divorce. And I said, well, I'm sorry. And he goes, I'm not. I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Just a really cocky response. First red flag. I'm born with an innate ability to not see red flags. And I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, well, apparently he's good with his divorce. I mean, a lot of people are. And I said, okay, fine. We're chatting about this and that, and he's trying to look cool, be cool, whatever. And here's one thing. I'm an 11 life lesson. And I'm able to see people's souls. And sometimes I can see their full potential or who they really are before they do. And so I just kind of blew it off as just kind of being bombastic and not really, paying that much attention to it. I was kind of just sarcastically smiling about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not really taking too much to heart. Then at some point he does this move in his chair where he flexes his arm and I can see his muscle. And I'm like, okay, that's a serious tool move, but whatever. Yeah, I'll give you snaps. You got freaking arm muscles. Okay. So at some point, I liked his cockiness, which is weird, even though I could see through it. I could see that he was, whatever. Should have run, but I didn't. For whatever reason, this was a date with karma. No doubt about it. And these relationships are karmic. I will tell you this. He was born October 8th, 1966. His life lesson is a 31-4. And this is where we start. So he passes his business card across my desk, and I'm like, okay, I'm checking it out. I'm like, all right. So very much unlike me, I decide to, before he walks out, slide my business card across to him. That was where my date with destiny came. So a couple days later, we get together, we talk. It takes him, I had to actually ask him, do you have children? To when he then told me, yes, I have 2 girls. He didn't even bring it up, like they didn't exist. It was very, very strange. So the getting to know you process was interesting. He seemed very cool, like a pretty sweet guy. He was sober, had been sober for 5 years. Another massive red flag for me as well. Sorry, people that are sober for 5 years, but I know better. And I'm like, okay, good. So we started to see each other more often. We met up at North Star where he met my daughter. He was really great with her. He took her ice skating. He was really sweet. Everything. Now we're a week into our relationship and we entered the love bombing phase. And those of you who have dealt with narcissists know what I'm talking about. I'm at this party And I had asked him if he could come up and meet me and my friends up there, and he said no because he was skiing in Tahoe and he wasn't going to be able to come up. And I was disappointed, yes, but moving on. So I'm hanging out with my friends, and all of a sudden I look up and there he is. And of course I was just ecstatic that he was there. So we go on into our own conversation. And I remember we were looking out over the city and talking to each other, and we were just so absorbed in this conversation, to the point where people were walking up to us and going, wow, you two are so in love. Wow, you guys are really in love. And we would get this comment all the time. Wow, God, how long have you guys been together? And I'm like, a week? It was weird, right? And we would kind of laugh at that, like, wow, that was the energy that was being passed. That's how intense it was. So when you say, why didn't you just leave or run or whatever, that's how intense it was. We'd go to a concert together, and just hanging out together, just talking, people would go, you guys need to go get a room. You guys need to go get a room. Not because we were hanging on each other or being physically touching. It was an energy between us. And they're like, wow, you guys, it was weird. Like, that was the kind of response that we would get when we were with each other. So we go to Vegas. Now, Vegas was a big turning point in our relationship, unbeknownst to me at the time. We go to a Steve Aoki concert. He gets us a room at the Hard Rock, or one of those places. I can't remember where. Anyway, now he says, I want you to see all sides of me. I'm like, okay. He proceeds to break his 5-year sobriety. Joy, right? Not the first time this has happened to me, which is why I tend to run away from sober people. Not that I prefer an alcoholic, but you know what I mean. He gets shit-faced drunk, drinking vodka Red Bulls all night. Then he runs across some cocaine from somebody, starts doing that, and I'm just watching this shit show in front of me, wondering what to do. We go back to the room. He is a mess. This just roller coaster of emotions, crazy, crying, then anger, then I have to go out and go get a hooker. I need something, like crazy, right? And I'm just going, what the fuck? Who are you? Who is this guy? It was a totally different person, like an alter ego came out. I don't know who he was. It was crazy. And it keeps going all night. Now all I want to do is sleep. I'm like, I don't care where you go or what you do, go do it. I need to sleep. I'm so tired. So I'm trying to sleep in between his bounding in the door and rattling off some crazy shit and going back out. And finally I say, listen, we have a breakfast date at 9:00 before we catch our flight. Can you get your shit together long enough to not embarrass me? Yeah. So we have breakfast. He's a little off the rails, in my opinion. We get on the plane, and by now he's sober-ish. And I'm just thinking, what the fuck did I get myself into? And I'm remembering all of these really cool things that happened between us, and now I'm seeing this other side of him, and so I am conflicted. And I look at him, and I look at him from the side, and he reminds me of somebody that I love dearly, and not the other person I was telling you about, but a family member. And I'm thinking, who is this guy? Why do I know him? Why do I feel like I have known him before? Karma. And I decide to give him another chance. Big mistake. So we come to the conclusion that drinking and him do not get along. It is his kryptonite. Let's not ever do that again. We get back, we do Valentine's Day. That goes okay, relatively well. Then he starts to pull away. And the messages come through less and less, and I can feel it, on an energy level, if you're not completely stupid, when somebody's pulling away. I'm like, okay, he's trying to ghost on me. And I can't just let stuff go under the rug. I have to address situations as they come up. That's just the way that I am. So I call him and I'm like, hey, I noticed that you're pulling back. What's going on? Is everything cool? He says to me, well, I just don't think we have enough in common to make this work. I am blindsided by this. I'm like, what? Everything was great. Our bond was phenomenal. And I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing? And I was devastated, absolutely devastated by this. And this was the first discard. And I literally was so depressed and so sad that I couldn't function. I mean, 2 weeks, I could not function. And for those of you who have been discarded by a narcissist after that love bombing phase, you do know what I'm talking about, right? Yes, you do. Okay, now we are week 3 into the breakup. It's 11 o'clock at night on a weeknight. I'm finally starting to get my shit together, try to shake it off, try to see some light at the end of the tunnel, and there goes my phone. And who is it? It's him. I answer it. I hear this drunken voice over the phone saying, "I can't breathe without you." Of course, I'm like, "Where are you?" And he's at the Silver Legacy, and I just bound down there to go pick him up. I don't care what condition that he's in. I'm not even pissed off that he's drunk. I just want him back so badly. So I go and get him. I bring him home, sober him up. We talk. Everything's back to normal, right? Everything's good? Yeah, not so much. So this starts the roller coaster, and this starts the makeup and breakup. And this is something that happens with people that work the number 4 too, and I'm talking to my 4s, is this constant making up and breaking up. And a narcissist is made. And here was his story. His story is this. He was adopted. And he said, now, half of what came out of his mouth was bullshit anyway, so you really have to kind of, weigh and balance and discard. But he said he was born on an Indian reservation and abandoned. So he was adopted out to this family in Michigan. Well, he was given the best of everything as far as I could see. Great education, was able to ski all over the country, claimed that he was this top-notch, top 6 skier. And whether that's true or not, I don't know. But he did seem to have a lot of different experiences of skiing in other countries and doing a lot of fun stuff. So to me, he was given a great life. He was 1/4 Native American, 3/4 white, and being left on an Indian reservation, I think would probably not have been a very good experience for him. Did he see the blessings he was given? No, he was seen as abandoned. So therefore, he has these abandonment issues that are crazy. So I think as soon as we started getting close, it was like, oop, gotta cut her, before she cuts me. He hated himself, absolutely hated himself, and played it off in this narcissistic, bombastic bullshit front. And he would brag to his friends about just all sorts of crazy shit about how many women he had on the side and all of this, which I later found out, of course. This was insane. So me being the helper that I am and the healer that I am, I have him watch movies like The Blind Side, look at what, had he been left in his current circumstances, he wouldn't have amounted to anything, but yet this family took him in, and now look at him, he's a pro football player, blah, 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 blah. And he'd be like, yeah, that's cool. And then it was all back to poor me, poor abandoned me, my mommy didn't love me. And then apparently, according to him, he went back to that said Indian reservation to go try to connect with his family, and they rejected him again. So he had just embedded issues in him. So anybody that ran across his path was in for trouble. So this is where this narcissist was born. I'm just give you a little background history on him. I would go to him with my, my counseling heart to try to fix him. There was no fixing him. There was just nothing there. He hated himself. So it was constant with the makeup breakup. He ruined my holidays. He'd break up with me the day before my birthday. In and out. Christmas ruined. Christmas, I get a phone call from one of my friends saying, did you know that, are you still with that guy? And I'm like, yeah. And, oh, well, I just saw him on Match.com today. I'm like, great. And I didn't do online dating, so I didn't know what he was doing. Apparently he had all of his online dating accounts open because he thought that I was mad at him and was going to leave. So he had to have a backup plan. Could never be single for more than a second. If we would split up, he would be out with another girl within a matter of hours. He could not be alone ever. He could not be alone with himself. He was a crazy person. So it was this constant in and out, in and out. And each time was a little less devastating, but more angering to me. I would get more and more pissed off. Enter 2015 Valentine's Day. We have plans. He gets shit-faced, goes up to the ski. I don't know, I guess he went up to Mount Rose to ski, calls me and says, I am fucking done with you. And I'm like, you know what? Bye. And hang up. And I start seeing this 26-year-old, which was kind of crazy. And I just did it just because he was charming and cute. And I'm like, fuck this guy. I'm done. I'm done with this roller coaster. We've been doing this for over a year of in and out of my life. And I'm just done. Well, he found out about that, and this destroyed his ego even more. His friends are not allowed to mention my name around him. It's just way too much. And so he takes up with some chick he met online and starts posting pictures of them on the internet and all of this. He's in this heated relationship with her. Everything's great. Moving on to something shiny and new. Meanwhile, when he gets drunk, who does he call? You guessed it. This actually bothers me. Yes, it bothered me. And I'm thinking, this is how you handle shit? You just move on to the next thing. That's how you do things, you know? Because of course, well, I don't have to explain this to you. Now I'm a free agent. I can go and do whatever the hell I want, right? And he keeps staying with this chick and then calling me and then telling her that I called him, and she gets on the phone and says, why are you calling my boyfriend? Why are you calling my boyfriend? I'm like, fuck you, bitch. He called me. Anyways, yeah, it got heated, and I get nasty when I get pissed off. So yeah, there's no balance there. None of my Libra charm comes through when I'm pissed off. So that was really something to see. So he pitted the two of us against each other. He then proceeded to ruin all of her holidays, ruin her events, anything she had going on. If I had anything happening for myself, he would ruin it. I was on TV. They did a story on my bakery and my fitness class. His friend said, hey, I saw your girl on TV. That night, he's like, I just don't know if things are working out between us. Because I was having a moment that took away from him. If I was doing a fundraiser for somebody and I really needed to focus on the fundraiser, getting all the moving parts in place, you know, he'd break up with me the day before my event just to try to fuck with me. Like, he would do this consistently to the point where I didn't even get rattled by it anymore. I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. It would get frustrating to the point where I'm just like, I'm just so fucking tired. I'm so fucking tired of this. So by the time he goes out with this other woman, I'm just like, okay, well, now I guess he's going to ruin her shit. So in that time, I had made friends with his friends. And I go up to Tahoe to hang out with one of his friends that he had known from Michigan since he was 8 years old. And I was drinking, so I didn't drive home that night. I stayed there, and I told him, I said, do not tell John I was here because he will not handle it well. And he says, oh, no, he'll be fine. I said, no, he won't. And it's like you don't know him at all. You've known him since you were 8 years old and you think he's going to be okay with me being here. Keep in mind, he was in another relationship with another woman. And I still knew he would have a big problem with me staying there. So he's like, okay, yeah, I won't tell him. And I go along my life. This is in July, end of August. I get a phone call asking me to come up there to this guy's house because John was there. And I said, no, I can't. I have to work. The next morning, I get a phone call. He says, said friend said you guys slept together. I'm like, what? What the fuck? Why would you say something like that? Not only did you not keep it a secret that I was there, you said we slept together. This is where shit got crazy, and I will tell you just how crazy. Yes. This is where a narcissist loses his fucking mind. Now he immediately dumps the other girl because he doesn't need her anymore. And in the interim of dating her, he is now a full-blown falling down drunk. He's drinking every single day because he clearly couldn't relate to her. He said she barely spoke English, and it was just bad. So it was every day was an escape. He's just a shit-faced drunk now. Now he won't let me stay and he won't let me go. So my phone's blowing up all night with you fucking whore, you fuck Scott, blah, 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 blah. Just drunken texts, which, not even legible. And then pulling me in, I love you, I need you. Oh, I just want to be with you. I love you. And I'm like, let me fucking sleep. It was constant. And then on the next drunk night, you fucking piece of shit whore, go fuck your boyfriend. Just vicious, abusive, horrible things. I'd start just doing screenshots here and there in case I needed it for a police report, right? Then the pulling me back in, I love you, I need you, I just want to be with you, I just can't imagine my life without you. And just this, his love bombing has gotten worse at this point. It's not very skilled. He's now lost almost everything. He was like blowing all of his money on frivolous things because he thought he was going to die and this and that. Just crazy shit, right? So, and the whole time I'm so fucking mad that this is even happening. This was so fucking unnecessary. Why would anybody even start this with somebody who's clearly unstable? So I can't really break away from him, even though I can't be with him. It's awful. He would put me on the frickin', Reno back pages and Craigslist for erotic massages and nice workouts. Just vicious shit. I'd show up outside his door and kick his door in and be like, take that shit down now. And he'd be pissing down. I was like, he was afraid of me, of what my temper would do. He was afraid I'd go all Bugsy Siegel on him or whatever woman that he was fucking around with. He would never lay a hand on me because he knew better. But yet at the same time, he would just become this fearless dickhead when he was drunk. And this continued on from August through, I'd say January. Okay. January of 2016. I get a phone call from him and he said he was going to check himself into a rehab. And I'm like, good, that sounds good. And he's like, yeah, but I just don't know if I can afford it because now he's pissed away all of his money. And he was doing very well financially, but now everything's gone. And I'm like, okay, well, keep me posted. So I don't hear from him. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call and he said, the key's under the mat, go in, take all the guns, take all the money, and take care of yourself. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm not doing this anymore. And he sends me a picture of Lake Tahoe from up on top of a mountain. I'm like, okay. I'm like, where are you? I'm not telling you where I am. And he seems straight at this moment. He's like, I just can't do this anymore. I just can't. I said, I thought you were going to rehab. No, I just can't. I can't. I don't want to be here anymore. I just can't do this anymore. And then he'd hang up the phone and I'd call him back and he'd answer the phone again. But I'm at work and I've got people, and it's one of my busiest nights. It's a Monday night. I've got people coming in. It's my busiest night at the gym and they're coming in to talk to me. And I'm like, hey, I've got to go and I need to be able to call you back. Will you answer the phone? Yes. So I would call him back and I'm trying to talk him off the ledge, literally. And it wouldn't be the first time because he had threatened suicide numerous times. And he'd answer the phone and I managed to get a message out to the front desk saying, John is on a mountain, call 911. And I finally got him to tell me where he was. So I sent, the message to the front desk to call 911 to send them up there. And then these girls come bursting in my office while I'm on the phone with him. And they're like, hey, and he goes, hey, if you're too busy to talk to me, fuck you, and hangs up. And then he goes dark. So I'm trying to call, phone's going straight to voicemail. All calls from that point on went straight to voicemail, cannot get a hold of him, can't get a text message to him, get no response from him. It's now 8:00 at night, nothing. The cops are calling me. I'm giving them as much information as I have. And so I finally leave work and I go out to the car and I call his ex-wife in Phoenix. And she's like, oh my God, this is real, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah. So now she's calling me like all night long and I still can't get a message through. the next day I go to the house, I go in, I look at his laptop, and I see the devastation of what's really going on. Apparently he had gone so far off the rails that he was going blackout drunk, date raping, doing all sorts of shit. So he was being threatened that if you don't go to rehab, I'm going to turn you in, from some woman who should have just turned him in. And so when he was faced with going to jail or going to rehab, and he couldn't afford rehab, I guess he decided he was going to end his life. So I don't feel like he's gone, because I feel like I would feel him. So the whole next day, I finally sent the asshole who started all this shit in the first place up to go look for him. I'm like, go find him, because the cops won't go up there. The cops say he's armed, so they won't go up there. But he had shot off all the rounds in his gun. That didn't sound consistent with the suicide. And I'm like, then what? Fucking go up there. You know, I'm like, he can't even shoot himself. What makes you think he's going to shoot a cop? So they go up there. Ex-friends go up there looking for him. Can't find him. Searched all the casinos, bars, couldn't find him. So if I finally find him at 5 o'clock the following day in a ravine at the bottom of the mountain, shattered, broken, fractured, broken, fractured. He had fallen from the rocks, because it was only 3 degrees that night up in Tahoe. He was up on top of this rock. It was very steep, and so he had fallen. I don't think he jumped, because I don't think he had the balls to do that, but he had fallen. And when he hit all the rocks all the way down, he did all that damage. So they take him in. He's like got almost hypothermia, and they bring him into ICU. And that's where the continuation of this story is. Now he's been found. Thanks to me. No, sorry, just kidding. But yeah, actually. But now the ex-wife takes over, and she has power of attorney because he never took that away from her after they got divorced. This is where shit gets even weirder, right? She puts him on lockdown, and because he was in ICU, whatever, they put him under an assumed name, and she proceeds to tell me that he just can't have any visitors, and he's sleeping, and every day he's sleeping. He's sleeping. If he does wake up, she's the only one that can have contact with him. And he thinks he's in Phoenix playing golf and this and that. He doesn't remember his kids. He doesn't remember me at all. He doesn't ask about me. He doesn't know me. I'm like, okay. And I'm getting freaked out because I'm really worried, because now, this is serious, right? So of course my love comes back, because I'm thinking, I just want to help him now and get him into a safe place. She's in Phoenix calling all the shots with her new man, who I don't know if she's married to or not, calling shots for him here in Reno when I'm right freaking here. But she's putting me in my place. She's very much like him, putting me in my place. And I can't get to him. So I'm freaking out. So for the first week, he slept. Second week, she claimed that he slept, but he really didn't. Third week, well, no, he's waking up, but he doesn't know who you are. He doesn't remember you. I'm like, yeah, well, we've been in a relationship for 2 years. I'm pretty fucking sure he knows who I am. Whatever, just this manipulative shit. However, you cannot outsmart. You just can't outplay a player. So I managed to work kind of around her. I talked to somebody at the hospital, and the lady at the hospital says they can only do a 72-hour thing, that you can go right to him. I found out where he was, so in the 4th week I was able to go to him, the person that doesn't remember me. I go walking, and I start to walk past his room, and then I see the room number, and I turn around and walk back, and he sees me, and he's like, oh my God, and he comes running towards me, gives me this big hug, and he was so happy to see me. And I was so happy to see him, honestly. And his brain function, he had a massive head injury. His brain function turned around by 60% within 24 hours. She had starved him of interaction with his friends, of love, of attention for 4 weeks, that he was suicidal again by the time I got there. and he had lost his will. And I looked at tests that he did, just like common sense tests. And this guy was very, very smart. That's one of the things I liked about him, is he was super, super smart. I was like, oh my God, he has no common sense. And the doctor came in to see him and said, what happened? And he's like, my girl came back. And I looked up on the board that he had written out his goals. This is before I got there, that he wanted to get married and have a home and do all this. And I'm like, wow, this is a big change. And he immediately wanted to get married. Oh, I want to marry you. Let's get married. And he was back to being his loving self, but without the manipulation. It was like a new start. And I knew a lot of shit about him that I'd found out by seeing his computer. And I'm like, okay, clean slate, let's start over. And I was willing to do that. I moved him in with me once we got 5 weeks in ICU. Moved him in with me. His ex-wife was pissed. Oh my gosh, she's like, you betrayed me. I'm like, fuck you, lady. You betrayed me. I think she wanted to kill him. Honestly, she just wanted to starve him. She was out to punish him for all the shit that he did to her, which I can't blame her there. But honestly, whatever. I bring him home with me. I nurse him back to health. All organic, like smoothies and Vitamix, getting him built up, getting his brain function back up, working with him, getting him games that would test his brain, got him a job working for Lockwood Moore, doing IT, because that's what he did. He had his own IT business. He was very, very smart, because he was going to go get a job at freaking Home Depot making $10 an hour. I'm like, why would you do that? You used to make $100 an hour. Why would you do that? He gets this job, and the guy can tell that his bell's been rung, that there's something going on there. He gets into AA, and then he becomes one of those holier-than-thou AA guys. Like, oh, he drinks. He's so beneath me. He's so pedestrian. First, he's nice to my daughter. Then all of a sudden, he starts treating her like shit. Now I'm having a problem. And I'm like, we don't do that. We had a house picked out. It was a brand new home. And the lady was holding it for us for 5 weeks until my lease ran out in my townhouse. And we were going to move in. She goes, I really want a family there. So it was going to be me, John, and Lex. We were going to move in. Everything was going to be good. He has this job that's now paying him roughly, $18 an hour. So between the two, he knew that how much the rent was. And we had agreed to that. Everything was good. We were looking 5 weeks out. She was holding the place for us. Gracie, no. And anyways, sorry, I have a cat. Oops. Okay. Sorry, Grace. Okay. He's going to work. Now he's getting more and more uptight. More and more uptight. The manipulative side is coming out again. If Lexi and I were upstairs, he would hide downstairs. If we were downstairs, he would hide upstairs. And then the next day he'd say, I missed you last night. And I'd say, well, we were here. And he goes, yes, but you were with your daughter. So now I'm supposed to choose between my daughter and him. But once again, we're back to those same old games again of I can't share you. So he was so needy and so clingy. I just want to be with you. I just want to be with you. Well, I'm sorry. I'm a package deal. I have my child. And I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart, and he's not helping me financially. He's not doing shit, right? And I'm starting to get annoyed. Finally, I'm like, dude, just go do something. He wasn't supposed to be skiing, but he felt like he could. I'm like, then go ski. Go skiing. So he comes home, and he smells of alcohol. After everything he'd been through, he started drinking again. After 5 weeks in ICU, shattering his bones, head injury, jaw wired shut, every fucking thing that could happen to this guy. And he starts drinking again. This I cannot understand. And he leaves. I'm like, get the fuck out. So he leaves. I have the locks changed while he's gone, just because I'm freaking annoying like that. He calls me and he says, I wish you'd come out with me. And I said, yeah, I'll come out with you. Why don't we go to Renown and let's go ICU so you can see where you just spent the last 5 fucking weeks. What is wrong with you? Why would you do this? I can't wrap my mind around this. I think this is going to be his turning point. But no, it's not. Now, I let him back in like a dumbass. It's getting close to our move-in time. Now he's sleeping with his phone right here on his chest and still avoiding me and my daughter. So it's right here, and he won't let it out of his sight, and I'm like, I wonder what he's up to. It is now 3 days before we're supposed to move into the house, And I said, well, are we all set to move in on Sunday? Because now things are getting real tense between us, and I am no longer in love with this man. And it's just very, very clear. He's now on my last fucking nerve. I want the house, but I'm starting to think, can I stand him? Because he's really being a prick. And I don't know if moving together is really going to fix this. And I said, you know, are we set to go? I go, it's $1,750. He goes, $1,750? I said, yeah, I pay $900 plus utilities and you pay the rest. Which he was paying $1,500 in his townhouse and I was paying $1,300 in my townhouse. I thought that worked out pretty good. Well, I can't afford that. I'm like, you can't afford $700, which is more than, you know, is more than half of what he was paying. All right. Anyways, he says, well, I have to see what else is out there. I go, you know what? Go find out what other women are out there too. Get the fuck out of my house. And that was the last time I ever saw him. I stayed that night at my ex-husband's house because he was out of town. When I came back, he was gone. He had taken his clothes, but he had left all of his furniture and a whole bunch of random shit behind, and he was gone. And I was like, whoosh. I moved out, and I had to tell this lovely woman who held this house for us, I'm so sorry to have wasted your time. And she's like, no, it's okay. It's better that you got out of the relationship. But I just felt so bad. It was the hardest phone call. I moved into a smaller place, which I still fucking hate, but whatever. Hiding in plain sight. I literally moved across a parking lot, but he couldn't find me. He never came and got his shit. Proceeded to tell people that I stole it. Now starts the smear campaign. He had dropped his iPad behind the nightstand. I found it, plugged it in. He was logged into all of his social media. He was logged into all of his dating websites. I found out that I was holding him captive, like Kathy Bates on in Misery. I would like to have hobbled him if I could have. Meanwhile, I'm like, just fucking go. Just give me some space. The whole time he's smothering me, telling people that I was holding him captive in my apartment, like a hostage. I had all these women going, oh, John, get away from her. She sounds so scary. Are you okay? All this shit. He would run off with other women and then talk shit about me the whole time. It was crazy. I had these women calling me, telling me the shit that he was saying. Like, he said this and this and this. He told one girl that he was coming up the stairs and my ex-husband was going down the stairs and there was money on the bed and I was naked and that he had just paid me for sex. I'm like, well, let me think. Do you think maybe I was even home, or was I in my pajamas and my ex-husband had left child support on the bed and picked up our daughter and left? Crazy fucking stories he would tell to run my name through the mud. So he did this smear campaign. He would post shit on social media about me. He posted pictures of us together from Vegas from 2 years before, making it look like it was just happening, and people would be like, who's the chick? And I'm like, yeah, who's the chick? Like, what the fuck? I was with somebody else by now. It was insanity. Yeah, this gets even better because he just continued to go downhill, and I went completely no contact with this guy from this moment on, which is exactly what you need to do, by the way, and try not to get rattled by them. But now I am furious. I am furious that after everything I did for this man, tried to nurse him back to health, he has the audacity to talk all this shit about me, and it's raw for me, right? And I'm not getting pissed off. I'm still kind of pissed off, but not as bad as I was. Yeah. At this point, I am completely no contact with this guy. If he texts me, I do not text him back. He would accidentally butt dial me on purpose to say, I'm meeting a girl here. I have a date. It was so freaking lame. He told people that he died and they used the paddles to bring him back. Then it became he died twice and they brought him back twice. And at one point, I think he even told somebody he died 3 fucking times and they brought him back. None of this ever happened. He would create these lies and just build on them and build on them to the point where nobody ever knew what was going on. Now he's just a falling down drunk. He goes from one girl and all he does is run me into the ground the entire time, just talk so much shit about me and use and abuse till they would throw him out. Then he goes on to another girl and now he's violent. The head injury had sparked something in him. Now he's violent. Now he's beating on women, which I would never seen that side of him. And he was unrecognizable. So now these girls are reaching out to me saying, was he violent with you? No, he was not. I'd see pictures of him unrecognizable, overweight, bald, like shaving his head, looked like shit. Just unrecognizable. I will not speak to this man. I don't want to see him. Feel nothing. There's just nothing there. I do not like this man. I really despise this man. And his life just turns to shit. He drank himself to death. He lost his job immediately. He no called, no showed, was drunk. They fired him. They weren't going to fuck around with him at all. And just everything that he had, every opportunity that he was given, he pissed it away with his bullshit, just running into that brick wall over and over again. Just keep running into it, just being a poor me. But his online persona was that he was so great. And what he didn't realize is that he left all of his dating websites up so I could see all the lies that he was telling to women. And that was just fucking crazy. So he gets with this one girl and he proceeds to tell her how, well, I only date models and, you're a little, beneath me. Basically told her that she was beneath him because he only dates models. I'm like, dude, you date girls that take pictures. It doesn't make anybody a model. Breaking her down, just really belittling her, breaking her down. And I'm wondering what she sees in him because by now he's a fucking slob. And I don't know, but he was love bombing her and they had a trauma bond and that's the way it was. He beats the shit out of her. She's calling me, asking me what to do. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Press charges, get this done. And she's like, well, I'm afraid he's going to die. I'm like, bye. Good riddance. And this drama going on and on and on and on for hours and hours and hours on the phone. And to the point where I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? So now it is September of 2015, September of 2015. Nope, I can't go back in time. September 2017. I keep getting these phone calls. Oh, I think he's dead. And I'm like, okay, so, you're going to care. You're going to care if something happens to him. I'm like, you know what? I really don't think I am. And so sometime in September of 2017, they found him in a campground in Tahoe and he's dead. Which I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to believe this till I actually see it. But apparently he had gotten a hold of some propofol or something. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen the coroner's report, but he eventually either drank himself to death or drugged himself to death. I don't believe that he committed suicide because he's just he's too much of a pussy to do that. I did not shed a tear for him. I saw it as being just like such a release for me that I didn't have to worry about running into him, although I never ever saw him again in that year that he was out of my life. I never ever saw him again, but he actually allowed all of that shit to destroy him. He allowed us, he allowed his past, he allowed his bullshit fake friend to destroy him and take him down in all of his poisonous thoughts. The man was completely mentally ill by the time that he died. And honestly, I finally stopped feeling this rage towards him. But I'll tell you what, the rage that was in me for such a long time whenever I thought of him, I couldn't even bring him in. And so yeah, he's not one of my, he's not somebody that I shed tears for. To me, the world is a better place without him. The planet is a better place without him. He needs to see the bigger picture on the other side, come back and try it again. And hopefully he gets a better shot the next time around. And that is my story of surviving narcissistic abuse. It was a doozy. So anyways, hey, have a good night. Bye.